Hello friends, my name is Dr. Rudresh Pandey. I am a professor of management at ABES Engineering College. Today we are going to study sales and retail management. The topic which we are going to cover here is sales quota and sales forecasting. Let me explain what sales quota is. Organization coordinate their functions to achieve their sales goals. The sales goals serve as target for the organization. All the efforts of sales force are coordinated towards achieving this end. Goals are set in organization in coordination with long term objective of enterprise and are always backed by effective sales planning. So, let us understand what sales quota is. Sales quota is an expected performance objective. So, it is something which has to be achieved by the sales people. It is a sales assignment or a goal to be achieved in a specific period. It is very important to understand that a specific period is given for achieving a sales target or a sales quota. In general terms, sales quota is known as sales targets. It is routinely assigned to sales units which can be either departments, divisions or even individual salesperson. Sales unit proceed to reach quota in their respective domains, and this is one of the very important tool in sales management. Every one of you who are going to be in this field of management, that is sales management or marketing management, you will face some kind of sales quota or sales targets. Let us understand why sales quotas or sales target are important and what are the principles on which these sales quotas are set. The first thing which is very important is that there should be a precision and skill in fixing these sales quotas. And why these sales quotas are important? Because of three major reasons. Sales quotas act as a tool to motivate direction. It gives direction to the sales people because it gives a clear objective to be achieved by sales people, and control by management. Management controls the sales or the marketing efforts with the help of quotas. So, quotas are sales quotas are basically a tool in controlling the sales effort of an organization, and it is not only control, but it is also a motivational tool. Second is objectivity in the sales quota is very important. Objectivity means that there should be very strong reasons and very strong working in setting sales quota. Sales quotas will not come out of something which is not very concrete. Sales quotas have to be objective. They have to be very clear in what is expected out of the sales people's effort. It must be simple. The sales quota must be simple to understand both to the manager and to the sales people. It is very important that sales quotas are understood by the people who have to achieve them. It is not possible to achieve any target which itself is not clear or complicated. Quotas are set above the achievable limits often demotivates. So, if there is a sales quota which the sales people think they cannot achieve, this will demotivate them, and it will act as a demotivating tool rather than a motivating tool. So, it is very important to have the correct quota, and in this I will again say that there is lot of precision and skills involved in setting sales quotas. Now, let me give you a glimpse of how procedure of setting sales quotas are done in an organization. What is the process? We have understood that sales quotas are very important tool. They are a motivational tool. They are also a control tool. But how these quotas are set? So, first of all, defining an annual objectives is done in any organization. There is an annual target or something which is achieved in a year's time. This objective or the target is set, then one-to-one discussion and conferencing with salesperson is done. Let me here give you a glimpse of how this process is done in an organization. I have taken a individual goal setting form. This form is basically discussed with the sales manager by a salesperson. You can note here that it has the name of the person who is going to achieve these targets, then year in which that person is going to achieve, the territory in which that person is working. So, these are the basic details which is there in this goal setting form. Apart from this, if you notice, there is not only one figure or one quota or the target which is there in this sheet. There are 5 things. First is sales volume per month. What is sales volume? Sales volume is the figure, is the number which the salesperson has to achieve. This volume can be in terms of rupees or in terms of numbers to be number of units to be sold. Then the second thing is expense per month. Every salesperson or the sales team has certain expenses. They have to incur some kind of expenses to achieve these sales goals. So, what is the sales expense per month to achieve the number 1, which is sales volume per month. Then third thing which is calculated in this goal setting form is gross margin per month. Friends, understand, a salesperson is selling a range of sales products for on behalf of their own company, and in all those products the margin is different. The contribution to profit by the product is different. One product may be contributing more, the other may be contributing less. So, salespersons are discussed by their managers what is the gross margin that they are going to contribute to company's profit. This is also there in this sheet. Then market share per month. What kind of market share these salesperson are going to achieve in their own territory which they are working. Then last thing is key account coverage per month. Key accounts, please understand, key accounts are the important clients. Here the word account means the client or the customer who is regularly buying from your organization. So, key account coverage is the coverage that a salesperson is going to achieve, and the salesperson is going to meet so many important clients. Those important clients are known as key accounts. And also look at these figures here. One is a pessimistic figure, which salesperson will say that I at a very pessimistic level I will achieve this volume per month. But there is also a realistic figure, and this figure is calculated. So, this is going to be expected, and this will be discussed, that there is a realistic figure that how much this sales quota can be achieved, and there is an optimistic figure. Friends, understand one thing, pessimistic figures are those figures when something unexpected is happening in the market, or something which was not expected has happened in the market. At that time we may go to a lower level of achievement of our goals, but that also has to be defined. So, there is a pessimistic figure, there is a realistic figure, and there is a optimistic figure. Optimistic figure means that if things are good, if things are working as we are expecting, and we have overachieved our realistic figures. So, this is very important for you to understand. Never ever give just one figure. Companies usually do not do this. Companies will take a range which will be a pessimistic from the optimistic. So, it is very important to understand this process, and this is how organizations are setting the sales quota. We will discuss more on how these figures, realistic figures, are worked on. Let us go to the next thing, which is types of sales quota. In the last slide, we had seen that there were more than just one figure that was being discussed with the salesperson and the manager. They in between themselves, they were discussing and setting. This is in coordination with company's objectives, different types of sales quotas. Sales quotas can be sales volume quota. Sales volume quota is in terms of either rupees or in terms of number of units. This is where lot of number game starts in sales management. So, sales volume quota is the quota which is given to a salesperson in terms of volume. For example, if there is a FMCG company and they have their sales team, they will give a target for a particular territory. For example, for a month they have to sell, let us say they have to sell almost 5 crore of their products in their territory. So, that is a sales volume quota, where the figure of 5 crores is given for a territory. But this is not the only quota or the target which is given to sales people. There is also a sales budget quota. What is a sales budget quota? Sales budget quota is what kind of budget, what kind of expenses are required to achieve this volume. That is also a part of sales quota or the sales objectives which has to be achieved by the team or the company. Then there is sales activity quota. Friends, understand, there are number of activities which are taken by the company to achieve these sales figures. These activities can be something related to advertising, something related to promotion, or a brand launch. So, every salesperson is required to have some kind of activity quota, what kind of activity that salesperson will do in his or her territory. Then combination quota. Combination quota is nothing but combination of all these 3 quotas. So, these 3 quotas are worked together to form a combination of sales quota. Now, let us go to methods of setting sales quota. What are the various methods? It is not only one method which is taken by a company, various methods are taken up by the company in which sales forecast and sales potential are studied in a particular market. There are various ways of sales forecasting. We are going to understand and look at them, the various sales forecasting method, in this lecture only. Then past sales and experience of the sales people. Past sales is the figure which company has achieved over the years in past few years. For example, a company can take past 5 years data and they say that we have been achieving these figures in last 5 years, and our this year's figure will also be somewhat related to this data which we have collected for the last 5 years. That means, if we have achieved these figures in last 5 years, it is expected that we will achieve this figure in this year also. Then there is a experience, people who are working on the field, they have certain experience and they know that what can be achieved. Executive judgment is the judgment by people who have been in the field, in the market, and they know the market very well. They can have a judgment, they can know that what kind of quota can be achieved in a given territory in a given time. Sales people's judgment is very important, because ultimately they are the people who are going to achieve those quotas, and these quotas are, because achieved by these sales people, their own judgment on the targets, on the objectives, on the quotas is very important, and compensation forms a very important motivational tool. Actually, lot of time methods of setting sales quota are also linked with compensation, because the quota achievement are also linked with compensation of the sales people. What are the problems that a company or a sales team or a salesperson may face in setting a sales quota? It is very important to understand the problems which can be there in setting sales quota, because sales quotas are very important function in a sales process. For this, the first thing is that there is a high level of individual difference in doing sales and achieving sales quota. Then a perfect quota is always combination of selling and non-selling activities. Selling activities are those activities which generally result in sales volume or sales figures. They contribute directly to achieving the sales objective of an organization. But there are different non-selling activities also. For example, advertising, for example, promotions, for example, meeting the key accounts and satisfying their queries and their doubts if they have about the company. So, there are lot of non-selling activities, and lot of time the problem comes is that these non-selling activities are overlooked, and this is one of the major problem which is faced in setting a sales quota. And one more thing, often sales people do not give proper attention to these non-selling activities. Then what is sales forecasting? We were discussing sales forecasting when we were discussing how the sales quotas are set. These sales forecasting is basically a process of estimating the future sales patterns of a firm by taking the past information and opinion into account for a desired period. So, forecasting is basically looking into future and deciding that what can be the future for the organization and estimate the future sales pattern, and this obviously is done on a very scientific way in organization. There are number of things which are done in this. One is forecasting market demand. Whole market is studied, market for the products or service of the organization which it is selling or for which the sales persons are working. The market demand is not for a specific company's product demand or any company or different company's product. It is the overall market demand. For example, in automobiles, how many cars will be sold over a period of time, let us say 3 months in Delhi NCR area. So, this is a market demand. But if you go to brands, for example, how many cars of Maruti will be sold, that is company's sales demand. but first thing which is done is to understand the market demand for a product or a service. There are two ways to understand this market demand. One is a breakdown approach and one is a build up approach. I will very shortly explain what is a breakdown approach and what is a build up approach. Breakdown approach is when you take the overall market and see that this is the kind of demand this market has. From there you divide the market into various brands that are operating. So, you are starting from the above, you are starting from the market, total market, that this is the total market demand which comes from this area. For example, Delhi NCR, the total demand for automobiles is, let us say 1000 automobiles are sold in a particular time. Then we will see that we will break that demand into different segments, that this is the brand A which has around 200 automobiles are sold, then for other brand this is 300 and so on. Then you will come to that brand's different models. So, this is a breakdown. Here we are going from above to bottom, we are taking the whole market demand and then we are going to different brands, and out of those brands what are different models. Then there is a build up approach. This is opposite to breakdown approach. Build up approach is we take demand for different brands and their products, we combine them together and find out the total market demand. So, this is something where we are working from bottom to top. Now, let us go to sales forecasting process. This is a very important process to understand that how we are forecasting the sales. The first thing is, in any forecasting, sales forecasting process, the first thing is forecasting objectives. We have to be very clear what we are going to forecast and why we are forecasting anything out of the market. So, forecasting objectives can be in terms of volumes, can be in terms of new product launches or anything else which company is trying to achieve. Forecasting objectives are that we have to be very clear that after this exercise of forecasting, this is what we are going to achieve. For example, if you are in a company and want to forecast the volume, sales volume in a particular area, then you have to be very clear that we have to forecast the sales volume, not anything else, and this step makes this thing very clear. After this, the second is determine the variables of forecasting or the sales. There are two types of variables, one are dependent variables and one is independent variables. Independent variables are generally results in sales. So, sales for a company is dependent on lot of things, but in itself the sales volumes are the independent variable, but they are dependent, the sales is dependent, let us say the efforts put in by the sales people, the advertising done or the products launched by the company. So, these are the dependent variable on which the independent variable is working. So, we have to be very clear on the variables which are working in our market and how we are determining this variable. Next thing is forecast procedure and analysis method. Forecast procedures are set, forecasting procedures are laid down and worked on. There can be lot of statistics or data collection which can be done in this procedure. There can be data collection, working on that data and finding out result, but whatever is the procedure, it should be clear. And analysis method, how we are going to analyze what kind of data which has been collected. So, how that data has been collected and how that analysis of that data will be done. Collection, then actual collection and analysis of data starts. So, collection and analysis of data is done after the process is set. Then after the result of these analysis, final forecast is made, finalizing the forecast, and finalizing the forecast is also related to the objectives, targets or the quota given to the sales team. After this, performance is evaluated whether the forecasting which was done was actually there in the market or not. Then if there was some mistake, forecasting objectives are again set. So, this is the process of sales forecasting. Let me also explain in brief various forecasting methods. There can be they can be divided in two broad categories. One is qualitative methods and second is quantitative methods. Qualitative methods are various types. One is expert opinion. Expert opinion is a qualitative method when we do not have much of the data cannot be collected and we are not in a position to collect data. What we do is we take qualitative methods, we take expert opinions, people who are in the market, who have been working in the market over the years, they know the market very well, their opinions are taken. Next qualitative method is survey of buyers. When we do not have any past figures, what we do? We go to the buyers and ask them, do a survey, understand their needs. This will help in understanding the forecast which we are going to do, what is the market. Then Delphi technique is a technique where interviews with the experts are done again and again. Then historical analogy. Historical analogy is basically a comparison method which is done with a similar product or a similar market. So, here an analogy is taken. For example, I am launching a product in a market which is new, where there is no data available. What I will do is, I will take a similar product which is there in that market and for which the data is available. So, I will do is an analogy, I will compare these two products and do a forecast. Then there is quantitative method which are based on data and analysis. One is a trend method. Trend method is where we see trend of past few years and out of that trend we forecast the next figures. Then moving averages, we try and keep a average of sales. For example, we can take last 3 years average, but the moving average will be always moving. So, the next year my moving average will also move 1 year ahead. Regression models are made in which lot of factors are taken it and a regression model is made to achieve the forecast. Then test marketing is done to understand the forecast. So, here friends, we have now seen that number one, sales quotas are a very important function for any sales organization or a salesperson. Secondly, we have seen that precision and skills are very important in fixing sales quotas. Sales quotas are not simply the objectives which the organization wants to achieve, but they are also motivational tools, they are also the control tools for an organization. The process of sales quotas or fixing sales quotas with forecasting is very important and it should be done perfectly in an organization. So, this is all which I have here. I hope you have liked the lecture. Thank you very much.